Follow the money. I love when they say this in detective shows. The bad guys are going to get away with it, or they were, till one obsessive detective follows the money trail. She stays late hours, mapping out the clues. Her bosses say, let it go, but she refuses. Alone in the incident room, she tacks each clue to the wall. Do you know this scene? It always gives me chills. I'd like to think it's not the grisly murders that thrill me. What I love is the puzzle and its obsessive solver as she maps each clue on the wall and then connects them with thread. She follows the money trail till she uncovers the facts beneath the con that took everyone in. Let's help her figure out a different kind of puzzle today, one that reaches far further than just an old crime ring. As the old song goes, steal a little and they throw you in jail. Steal a lot and they make you king. Instead of just uncovering and what's hidden about the activities of a crime boss, this con involves who gets to shape the future. Now, con stands for confidence trick, played by a confidence man. It works because you believe his story. You give it your confidence. Here's how the story goes. Consider a part of life many take for granted. Say, getting your food or drink, which you enjoy, from a single-use plastic container, or using a cell phone that came to you with fossil fuels from a factory where they built it using cobalt mined by modern-day slaves. These things come to seem normal. Once the world works this way, you do your best to live in it. 85% of the human race had a smartphone in 2022, and it was brought to you by that container ship and that cobalt mine. You do your best to live in it. But is this the only way the world could work? With these solutions we adopt for everything, from how we get our clothes to how we heat our homes. And if not, who determined that things should work the way they do? Someone put in the resources to turn this into our way of life. And the process continues apace. The way we live tomorrow is being made up today. And what makes the hairs on our detective's neck stand on end is a story we tell ourselves about who gets to make it up. To get seduced by this story, to give it your confidence, you need to accept 3 premises about how innovations turn into the way we live and work. 1, everybody has a fair shot at creating a new solution if she wants to. 2, the process for investing resources in these solutions is based on their merit. 3, those who don't take part in innovation don't have what it takes. Now, what does our detective do if she thinks this story just might not add up? Follow, thank you. Follow the money. Let's start with premise 1. Everybody has a fair shot at making their ideas real. As we help our detective follow the money, let's trace the flow of venture capital, or VC. Such funds take money from investors and bet them on startups. And though it's just one source of funds, VC plays an outsized role in whose ideas become our way of life. Following the money here, what portion of venture capital do you think funds women-founded ventures? In 2022, women-founded ventures got less than 2%. Meanwhile, startups funded by the top 100 VCs were nearly 90% male. Time to check in with our detective following the money trail. She looks up at that incident room wall. She thinks, this is crazy. For every $100, it's $1.90 being garnered by women founders. but she's committed to following that money trail wherever it takes her. What about Hispanic women founders? She takes a look. Okay, that's less than 1/3% over an entire decade. Okay, she thinks, of the $100, Latina founders got 32 cents. Her jaw drops. She takes in her breath. Black women founders got 0.6%, 0.0006. A tiny shaving of a penny out of our $100, a bit of copper dust. She wonders, could this con run even deeper? In a sweat, she pulls up the international flows of VC. She does some quick math. In 2022, more than half of global venture capital went to firms based in North America, where less than 1/20th of the global population lives. Compare that to Asia, with 12 times the population of North America and less than half the VC. Latin America, less than 2% of the total. Africa, just over 1%. Now, before she can go any further, her chief storms into the room. How can you call this a con? He bellows. Successes speak for themselves. If women get less VC, they must have worse ideas or execute less effectively. 50 times less effectively, she mutters. Detective, do I have to take you off this case? But she keeps digging. As her chief leaves the room, she looks up at her wall of clues. Her eyes fix on premise 2. The process works on merit. She walks through the logic of what her chief has said. Investment decisions are based on tough objective criteria and analysis, so whoever makes the strongest case get their shot. Now, my dear sleuths, all of us are going to be detectives here. We need to help her. She's committed to following the numbers, but her chief is leaning on her. Does what he says add up? Not so much. Entrepreneurship and innovation scholar Mim Plavin Masterman emphasizes. Good old familiarity governs both who gets a shot at pitching investors and how the selection is made. Plavin Masterman refers to a 2021 Harvard Business Review study, a survey showing that nearly all deals for VCs come from the people they know and the people they in turn rub shoulders with. It's not like on TV. Only 10% of deals come from the investor reaching out directly. And of those who do get in front of investors, who do you think gets funded? Well, the board chair of the Corporate Finance Institute notes, we're looking for not markets or technology, which are hard to get right. We're investing in courage and genius, objectively identifiable characteristics. And while all this genius is getting recognized, who do you think actually has to prove themselves? Remember that 1.9% going to women? Turns out that women have to defend themselves disproportionately against tough questions from investors, as Dana Contis research has showed. Now, of course, some individual investors elude the familiarity trap. But when you follow the numbers, the pattern shows. And so as our detective looks up at the wall, something is nettling her. She's seeing this effect across gender, race, country, even income bracket. She thinks it can't be any of these things alone. There's something deeper going on here. Every con has its victim, she thinks. Who loses here? The entrepreneur knocking on doors that are more likely to open up for somebody more recognizable than she is? Well, sure, she thinks. But that's only part of the story. She compares the demographics of who cares about climate policy with the data she's found on who gets venture funding. How could she have missed the connection? In the US, with all its early stage funding, the less members of a demographic care about the climate, the more investment they have access to. The less they care about the climate, the more investment. She rubs her eyes to make sure she's getting the data right. Black Americans care the most and get the least. Hispanic Americans care the second most and get the second least. Foreign-born Latinos care more than Latinos born in the US, and women care more and get less. A crazy idea hits her. These statistics describe the folks who would solve climate change given the opportunity. She's always imagined environmentalists wearing Patagonia at the wheel of a Tesla, but maybe she's missing the point entirely. Her eyes fix on premise 3. Those who don't innovate don't have what it takes. If the money trail shows us anything, she thinks, it's that we never even find out. She remembers an entrepreneur in Bangladesh she interviewed while following the money trail, a guy called Sebastian Crow, solving problems she'd never even thought about. He showed her a video of rows of electric rickshaws powering a building during a monsoon. What was it that he had said? Necessity is the mother of invention. And if the people with the chance to invent don't face the necessities the rest of us face, they won't build what we need. She rifles through her clippings. Investment in climate tech cratered this year. And for the wealthiest 1%, emissions are growing now. And for those with the largest footprints, most of that footprint comes not from what they consume, but from how they invest. This con is spectacular, she thinks. On it hinges how our world will work in the crucial window to come. And that's when she sees it, how the con obscures the crime. Somehow we're investing nearly all our capital in those furthest removed from what the rest of us now face. Live too long in a privileged, protected world, you start to think the problems of that world are the world's problems. Gazing at the lawn with the air conditioner on, it's hard to feel the world burning till your own home burns. Then it hits her what we would do if we saw through the con. We would flip it now in this last possible moment before it's too late. Flip on its head who gets to build what she imagines. Leave off handing briefcases of cash to those most insulated from the cataclysm at our gates and do whatever it takes to equip those most exposed to, least insulated from the ravages of business as usual with the chance to try their hand at building what comes next. She remembers an Oxfam report on the investments of 125 individuals. When you include their investing activities, each emits an average of 3 million tons of carbon a year. That's more than 1 million times the average for the bottom 90% of humanity. She thinks, it's not hard to follow this trail. Look at the footprints, the giant footprints, as they pass along the polar ice. That is, if you can still see them amidst the slush. We must leave our detective here. It's not a high point in the case for her, but she's the obsessive detective. She'll never give up. Still, what about us? If all this following the money has been as depressing for you as it's been for me, finally, I have an encouraging set of numbers drawn from anonymous surveys my team conducted. These show what happens when you give the lie to premise 3. Over the past 3 years, colleagues around the world did just this using a platform called Rebel Base that we built to the purpose. We worked with groups in Bangladesh, Belarus, Bulgaria, Colombia, Kyrgyzstan, Palestine, Spain, Taiwan, and the US. Now we're adding additional groups from Ghana, Kenya, the Ogallala Lakota Sioux, South Africa, and Ukraine. And with a platform to guide them and counterparts to collaborate with, people around the world come alive to a different way and learn by doing what it takes to make it real. 90% gain or retain the confidence to launch something new going forward. 85% learn to collaborate on diverse teams, and 84% come out prepared to recognize opportunities where others see barriers. Few of these respondents have entrepreneurial backgrounds, but when asked what should just work differently, they don't hold back. They challenge themselves to remake the way things work. Many of them in the toughest environments on earth, in war zones, under occupation, and among refugees. This doesn't by itself fix the problems of access to capital or who's rubbing shoulders with whom. But it does reveal the power of having the chance to try one's hand at fashioning the future. Could we build on this using the tools of the digital age to create a modern circulatory system of talent and ideas where the projects that get that vital oxygen, the experiments that get resources are the ones the rest of us would launch, given half a chance? Bernard Lietaer said, we have this odd tendency to create a world, forget that we have created it, and then throw up our hands and proclaim our inability to make a difference. It is our creation, constantly evolving. Think of someone in your organization or community who for sure can say what should work differently. And think whether she's sitting in a cubicle or on a job site or out in the field or just working in a menial job or taking notes in a classroom while some old man tells her how he thinks the word should work, and she takes notes because she's going to get tested on what he thinks. If she is you, begin. Mount an experiment in how things could work differently in your industry or community, and don't wait for someone to tell you you're ready. There's only one way to learn this. And if you're an educator, ask your students what's broken and equip them to attempt solutions of their own. If you're an exec, ask people up and down your organization to create audacious experiments to shrink your carbon footprint till it's gone. And if you're an investor or could be, forget the hunt for the unicorn and focus on the one thing that matters. Get the person we're talking about on your radar. She is everywhere, but we haven't got much time. Unless we change the story we tell ourselves about who invents the future, we won't make the leap. No chance. The way we do things today is already history. The only question is who gets to replace it with what they dream.